I think it's the perceived problem in Sri Lankan cricket when you hear particularly kind of the older generation talk about our cricket is that there seems to be a gap, or there's a feeling that there's a gap between the level of cricket played in schools and then the level of cricket that's played in domestically, and that when the players are leaving their schools, we think, right, these guys can go in and score thousands of test runs or thousands of white ball runs, and then actually by the time they get to the Sri Lanka side, it feels like they're undercooked. Do we think that's fair? Because actually, I think that's a problem that every country in the world has, where, you know, under 19 players come through and they go, right, these players are the next ones off the next car off the cab rank kind of thing. But or do we think that actually the domestic system isn't equipping players well enough to play international cricket? Nick, I'll let you go first in this, and then we'll get Adil's thoughts.
I think that has been the popular conception, right? That players come to Test cricket and have to learn on the job. But I think part of that is down to how bloated the first-class structure had gotten. As Adil touched on not long ago, it was 28 teams in that top division split into two tiers.
26, yeah.
26. So, but I think that you're starting to see, well, like when a team this good, I know we've talked about the fact they haven't been able to call upon a lot of their squad throughout this tournament, but when a team with players of this standard is failing to win week after week, it certainly suggests to me that the standard is improving with this concentration that's gone on in first-class cricket, and that we're getting a better, more competitive first-class structure. And I think you've seen that with sure, exceptional players, but nonetheless players who've been grown up through this system. Someone like Kamindu Mendis coming into Test cricket and looking instantly comfortable and at home, to me suggests that the standard of first-class cricket in Sri Lanka is improving, and that gap, which we've assumed to be a chasm, is possibly narrowing slightly.
I don't know, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I would agree with Nick, because yes, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said, I mean, yes, the standards are like so big, but I mean, the gap is so big, but yes, I mean, it's improving, but still a long way to go, definitely a long way to go. Kamindu Mendis, in that case, I would say is an exception. Like, my goodness, that start is just mind-blowing. But I don't think you could expect, this is something I was speaking with one of my friends very recently. Now, yes, what Kamindu Mendis did was exceptional, like special. And what a mistake that we shouldn't do is to expect the same level of performance from a new debutant. Let's say if Sonal Dinusha makes his debut in the next series, we shouldn't expect the same level of consistency from Sonal Dinusha, or maybe let's say Pawan Ratnayak or Pasindu Surya Bandara. It's very, very, very unfair. What Kamindu Mendis did is exceptional. Don't expect that again. So the gap is still the gap is still considerably. There is a gap. I mean, we can't expect a youngster, or even let's say for someone like a Lahiru Udara, who is a seasoned campaigner in Sri Lanka domestic cricket. He has played so much of games, but I don't think it's fair to expect him to just come to the national team and start performing. The gap is still there, but like Nick said, it's coming closer, and it's improving.
We'll get to this comment from Dineth in a moment, but the only I'm glad you brought this up, Adil, because I think there is an expectation that people arrive in the team, they make their debut, and they're fully formed, right? Like, you know, you when Sangha retires, kind of the expectation I felt from a lot of people was whoever comes in and fills this place is going to be kind of Sangha reborn, and it's like it's never going to work like that, sadly. Dineth has written in and he said, I believe Kamindu and Pathum averaged slightly sub 60 in first class cricket, and this has explained their success in Test early in their careers. I mean, Adil, what like you talked about Kamindu there, can you talk a little bit about kind of Pathum as well, and what their kind of first class careers look like before they were kind of fixtures in the team. I think Patton made a century and debut, didn't he?
Yeah,
Against West Indies.
Yes, in West Indies, right?
he was
Yeah,
cool.
away from home as well.
People were wanting to see him in the test team for a long time before he got there, right?
Yeah.
And Pasindu's another guy who's averaging not far off 60. Am I wrong, Adil?
Who?
Pasindu's another guy who's averaging high 50.
Exactly. While you were just talking, I just checked his current first class average, and it's 57.67, like almost 60. So yeah, Pathum, before he made his test debut, like he was scoring in every domestic game that he got. Like Dinath had said, he was averaging some 60 or something. Yes, so Pathum, Hamidu, even Nishan Madhushkar was performing exceptionally well before he made his debut for Sri Lanka. So yes, I think scoring heavily, not just barely scoring 100 then once in a while, but scoring very heavily definitely gives you the confidence to succeed in the international level. So I think that's what we saw with Pathum, Komindu, uh, and Nishan for a certain extent. And also, if you all remember, Osha the Fernando, right? So he was like not a big name, but out of the blues, because Sri Lanka had a bad tour in Australia, they did a big overhaul to the Test squad, and people like so these were like heavy run scorers in domestic cricket. Osha the Fernando, Angelo Pereira, Milind Sirivardhana. Three batters got call ups for the Test series. So all these three were scoring so heavily in domestic cricket. Angelo Pereira, I remember in one game scored 2 double centuries or something like that. Like they were scoring heavily. Milinda Sirivardhana was scoring heavily. I don't think he deserved the place in the Test squad, but that's a different story. But he was scoring heavily in domestic cricket. Osha the Fernando had scored 1,000 in 2 back-to-back domestic seasons. That's how he earned his place in the Test squad. And you saw how well he handled the likes of Dale Steyn and Kagiso Rabada in South Africa, right? I mean, he just started his international career like a duck to water. Like he scored a match-winning 50 in the second test and all. But yes, there was a decline after that. But what I want to say is that maybe big runs behind your name will always help you play in any level, despite from which level you are coming in. I think that's what Dineth is also trying to say. But the standards are still far apart. But if you have a lot of runs behind your name, I think that would definitely help you have a good start. But sustaining is a different story, I think.